It is 11 p.m. The house is finally quiet, and you are standing in a dark kitchen, staring at the floor, too tired to even pour yourself a glass of water. In that quiet, a flash of resentment flares up toward the partner or parent sleeping in the next room, the person you love most. And right on the heels of that resentment comes a crushing wave of guilt. Society tells us this is the deal we made. The vows explicitly say in sickness and in health. That script frames this bone-deep exhaustion as a test of your emotional endurance or a test of your love. Well-meaning friends suggest taking a bubble bath, going for a walk, or downloading a meditation app. You already know those things will fail to lift this specific type of fatigue. We misdiagnose caregiver burnout. This fatigue persists because it is the first sign that the private, domestic world you've built is beginning to fail under its own weight. This graph shows how our bodies process stress. On the left, a standard stressful workday triggers a spike in cortisol, but that line drops back to zero when you clock out at 5 p.m., allowing the body to recover. On the right is the caregiving baseline. The stress response elevates and remains there. Because that biological activation is permanent, the nervous system adapts the only way it knows how. It numbs your emotional responses just so you can survive the week. Clinicians define the unnameable sorrow sitting in that numbness as anticipatory grief. You are mourning the slow loss of a spouse who is changing, even though they are still sitting right next to you on the couch. We lack a mainstream vocabulary for mourning someone who is still physically present. Neighbors get the polite medical updates, but they do not know how to ask how you are actually doing, leaving you isolated. Even adult children living independently often miss the reality of the situation. They check in by phone, unaware of the day-to-day emotional erosion happening inside the marriage. Feeling numb or disconnected under these extreme conditions is a predictable, biological response to a chronic, unrecognized loss. Chronic illness introduces a relentless administrative layer into a marriage, often requiring more energy than the physical acts of making meals or helping someone dress. Psychologists call this cognitive load, the sheer volume of working memory required to process information. This network map illustrates the reality of a complex medical system. Over time, you become the solitary hard drive for the entire operation. Every piece of critical information bottlenecks into a single glowing point: you. You alone are tracking the shifting medication schedules, coordinating the specialist appointments, untangling the insurance portals, and managing the legal paperwork. This creates a fragile architecture. If that central node gets sick or simply needs to rest, the entire surrounding network crashes. Your exhaustion is the predictable result of functioning as a single point of failure for an overwhelming data system. Self-determination theory dictates that human resilience under stress requires 3 requirements: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Holding a massive administrative burden alone destroys that required sense of relatedness. Nobody else holds the day-to-day context of the illness, which means no one else shares your daily reality. This creates friction with adult children. They want to help, but because they lack access to the daily data, they only have generic questions. Typical stress relief methods fail because they ignore the profound psychological isolation caused by this extreme asymmetry of information. If this administrative bottleneck is left unchecked, the role of manager will consume and erase the role of partner. The immediate solution is moving the data out of your head. Information must live in durable, shared digital workspaces, where anyone in the family circle can read the daily digest. You must also formalize the legal layer. Drafting healthcare and financial powers of attorney is vital, but they are useless in a filing cabinet. You and a trusted friend must be able to pull those documents up on a phone screen within 30 seconds to prevent an ER visit from becoming a crisis. Engaging with formal support systems and caregiver organizations provides tangible relief. They are designed specifically to shoulder this exact administrative reality. Outsourcing your administrative memory creates a visible accountability system. Siblings and friends can finally participate in the care without needing you to manage them. Shared workspaces and legal preparation will not cure the underlying illness. They do not stop anticipatory grief, but they do reclaim your essential human bandwidth. Removing the cognitive load of medication schedules and legal fears directly buys back your time and attention. Solving the structural data problem is the only viable way to step out of the exhausting role of an administrator and step back into the role of the person they love.